What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for June 3rd, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Monday edition of the podcast. Big week here. It is the last week of school for me. And then we switch to summer hours. Or hopefully, we haven't even gotten official word yet, but usually we go to summer hours starting next week. So I got one more week to just kind of push through, which leads me into a couple housekeeping notes. Yesterday, I always tell you, I try to get everything as accurate as possible. I incorrectly said Robert Person gave up 3 runs in that game back in 2002 when he hit the 2 home runs, including the grand slam. He, in fact, only gave up 1 run, so it was even more of an amazing feat for him. But like I said, I always try to make sure everything is as accurate as possible. And he actually almost hit a 3rd home run in that game, just missed one. So great game for Robert Person. Definitely, probably, I would say, the high point of his career as an overall major leaguer. And then, I'm a couple days late on this, but due to the weekend and everything, but I did officially weigh in and everything on Saturday. And I was up 1.6 pounds for the month of May. Part of that is due to vacation. Not making any excuses, though. I could have done a little bit better, but I'm trying to hold myself accountable. And if you're on the journey with me, hold you accountable as well. For May, I wanted to just get back into a consistent workout routine, which I was able to do, minus the week of vacation. But I did start incorporating some running into my workouts the last 2 weeks. And I think for June, that is going to be my focus. I'm going to try to really ramp it up. I've been doing a lot of run walks, just trying to ease back into it and hopefully not suffer an injury. Knock on wood, things have been going pretty well. So my goal for June is to run between 25 and 30 miles, which doesn't seem like a lot because that would be a weekly total for me. But again, trying to ease into it and be smart about it and not get hurt like I have been the past few times I've tried. So that is my goal, 25, 30 miles for the month of June. And I always felt that running more than any other cardio workout was the best for me for weight loss anyway. So I'm hoping that if I can get that 25 to 30 miles in, plus the weight training, I should be able to go. So hopefully, as I said, I want to hold myself accountable here. I'm up 1.6 pounds from the previous month. Still down overall for the year, but looking to really get back on the horse in June, incorporate the running, and see what we can do. Don't forget the nickname tournament's coming up on June 21st. We will have Selection Friday on June 21st. Looking forward to that. That way you have the entire weekend to just rip me for the seeding and the nicknames that got left out. So stay tuned for that. Best way is follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont, Twitter and TikTok. Instagram at PhillyJimbo. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. I'm on Facebook too. Tell your friends. Let's grow this thing. The numbers are they've been creeping up as far as listeners, as well as participation in the question of the day. So let's keep that going. Speaking of the question of the day, yesterday I asked you, what should the Phillies do with Edmundo Sosa once Trey Turner is healthy? 56% of you said keep him on the bench. 44% said move him to the outfield. Last night's game, there is a caveat to that because Phillies lost 5-4. They were still able to take the series against the Cardinals, but Marsh tweaked his hamstring. Not sure how serious or anything it is, but should he have to miss some extended time like Trey Turner, all of a sudden now you have Edmundo as kind of that guy. Whit Merrifield has not been doing much. Maybe they put him in there because Rob Thompson the other day said he needs to have consistent at-bats in order to do something. We'll see how it goes, but Marsh has been playing decent, so that could be a huge blow. But the bigger story, even more so than that, is just the struggles of Tijuan Walker continue, and Spencer Turnbull has still been pretty good while he is pitching out of various roles out of the bullpen. So I don't know what they're going to do. I think Walker is scheduled to pitch next weekend in London. Whether or not he continues to do that, you have the question mark now of Ranger, whether he's going to miss a start or not. So lots of nothing major, I guess, but still some things to be of concern about for the Phillies. But they're in action tonight against Milwaukee. Our old pal Rhys Hoskins is coming to town, so looking forward to him. I'm sure he'll get a nice little ovation until his first at bat, and then you're the enemy now. But 5-4, they still took the series, 2-3 against the Cardinals. Battled back despite, again, Walker not pitching well. I will say that when the ESPN does the miking the players up, it's actually really cool when they're talking to them during the game and whatnot. But I don't know if we could see more of that on the local broadcast or whether that's like an exclusive ESPN thing. But it is pretty cool to see them talking with them during the game, and really gives you like a peek behind the curtain almost of what's happening. All right, I've told you about the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction class. If you want tickets or any more information, everything you need is in the description. Hit me up if you also want to be a sponsor or have anything to donate for the silent auction. And be sure to check out Philly Goat. I've been telling you about the shoes. The shoes are they're so comfortable. They turn heads. People like them. And you can get them for 10% off using the promo code Jim Montgomery when you check out. So go check them out. Get a shirt or two to match. I got a lot of compliments last week on the Philly shirt, that the City Connect that they have, or the Philly Connect they call it. So go check them out. You won't be disappointed. PhillyGoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery. Get the shoes, the canvas loafers. They're so comfortable. Check them out for yourself if you have not done so already. All right, some Eagles news as they get ready to kick off mandatory mini camp tomorrow. The long-awaited tampering ruling for the Saquon Barkley signing should be coming out soon, according to multiple reports. The Eagles are in a little bit different of a situation than what the Falcons are with Kirk Cousins, which still doesn't make any sense that they tampered and then drafted a quarterback in the first round. But that's a whole other issue for another team and another time. For the Eagles, it doesn't look like it's going to be as serious. They'll probably get docked a draft pick or two. But, yeah, thanks a lot, James Franklin. Can't do anything right. But that should be coming soon. And, again, it should just be a little slap on the wrist because I think all teams do it. It's just James Franklin is an idiot and couldn't keep his mouth shut. No real updates on the Sixers. Just more rumors, more who are they going to sign, who are they going to do this, and we still have like another, I think, 4 or 5 days before the NBA Finals even start. So this is going to be dragging out. But you can check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. What they do is just cover the NBA, and they do it in just the same way that we would be doing it if we were sitting at a bar. So go check them out. Clashing Conferences podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We also don't have any Mishkov updates for the Flyers yet. But I did not get a chance to check. The Memorial Cup Finals were last night to see how Barkey and Bonk did for the London Knights. I'll have an update on that tomorrow. But we still wait. We're now inching closer and closer to that mid-June sort of deadline that the guy for the chairman, I think was his title, or the president of the KHL had sort of arbitrarily set as the deadline to try to get Mishkov out of his contract. So as we get updates on that, and I'll also update you on the Memorial Cup tomorrow and let you know how Barkey and Bonk did. All right, today we're going to go back to 2001, and on this day in 2001, the Sixers beat the Bucks 108-91 in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final, clinching their first finals berth since 1983 when they won the championship. Basically culminated a fun season for the Sixers where they were by far the best team in the East record-wise, got off to that hot start, made the trade after, why can't I think of his name now, the center, Theo Ratliff, when Theo Ratliff broke his wrist, made the trade for Dikembe Mutombo. But just a fun season. AI stepped up big, had 44 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, shot 4 for 6 from three-point range, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, and just was clutch. Like throughout that whole postseason, AI was just so clutch in the big games, the big moments. He scored 50 twice the round before against Toronto. Dikembe Mutombo proved his worth. He had 23 points and 7 blocks. Aaron McKee with 13 assists. And it wasn't like the Bucks won away quietly. Ray Allen had 26. Glenn Robinson had 24. And future Sixer coach Sam Cassell had 20. It was their second straight Game 7 win in the playoffs. I mentioned they beat Toronto the series before in Game 7 when Vince Carter's last-second shot rimmed out. Raja Bell was big in this game, 10 points off the bench in the second half. But what a series. I remember like being so nervous about this because the Bucks and the Sixers were definitely the two best teams in the East that year, and they put on a show. They split the first 2 games in Philly, split the next 2 in Milwaukee. Sixers won Game 5 by 1. The Bucks won Game 6 out in Milwaukee, and then this Game 7, and it just was. I remember the whole season was just so electric. Everybody had the window flags for their car. Really, like I said, brought the city together like no other team that I've ever seen, and truthfully have ever seen since. And that's including some of those Phillies teams as well as a couple Eagles Super Bowl teams. I just remember after the win, Broad Street was just, because I was still at Temple at the time, Broad Street was just insane traffic. Everybody high-fiving. My buddy somebody was hanging out a jersey. Somehow he got a free AI blue Sixers jersey out of it and was just like, oh no, what do I do? And I'm like, take it up to your room before, because the guy wasn't going to be able to turn around. That's just how crazy traffic was. But I just remember the Ain't No Stopping Us Now was like their theme song, and I've never seen and maybe because it was sort of the first time after we had the curse of Billy Penn and everything, but it was like the closest that really, at least in my memory when I've been old enough to remember, the first time a Philly, like you had the 93 Phillies, but like this brought, everybody was bringing, like, I don't know, it was just a different vibe the way that this Sixers team brought everybody together, because everybody in the area was rooting for the Sixers. But it just was a good time to be a Sixers fan, a fun time to be in the city of Philadelphia, even going into Game 1 of the finals, where we thought we had no shot to do anything, but it was just we had gotten there. But that Game 7 was, like I said, their second straight Game 7. They have not won one since. They've lost twice to Boston, once to Atlanta, and then once to the Raptors as well. But on this day, back in 2001, the Sixers beat the Bucks 108-91 in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final to go to the NBA Finals. And if you were around and just being a fan, like, it was incredible, which to me leads to the question of the day. And I'm going to go non-championship teams because the 08 Phillies and the 2017 Eagles aside, what Philadelphia sports team in the past 30-some years, 35 years, has been the most fun and brought everybody together? The 93 Phillies, this 2000-2001 Sixers, the 2022 Eagles, or the 2010 Flyers? To me, it is not even close. It is this Sixers team. They won our Lovable Loser tournament last year. You can't find anybody that will say anything bad about this team. I've heard people rip the 2022 Eagles and the Flyers overachieved. The 93 Phillies are kind of close with that. I believe, if I remember from the tournament, the Sixers beat that 93 Phillies team in the Lovable Loser tournament. But to me, it's not even close. But let me know your thoughts. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Leave a voicemail. Send a text message. Let me know which one of these teams that did not win a championship was the most fun. Was it the 93 Phillies, the 01 Sixers, the 2022 Eagles, or the 2010 Flyers? You know where I stand. And I'll do my little AI ear thing. It's hands down this Sixers team for me. But maybe you think something different. Let me know on the Back to the Future voice and text line or anywhere on my social media. Should be some fun with this one, but man, going back, like, I have such vivid memories from the end of this game and just being right there at Broad and Nars and high-fiving people running down their cars, people hanging out their windows, people going down in the back of trucks with flags, like, just cheering. And even the cops were just like, whatever. Like, let's just enjoy this. It was such I'm getting chills just thinking about it because it was so fun. And I don't know if it was because I was older and it was the first time we really gotten there. And you guys, I talk about it all the time, just my love for the Sixers, how, yes, the Phillies were my first love, the Eagles are my true love, but the Sixers, man, they're like that little, the guilty pleasure, the ex-girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, that sucks me in every time. But to have that feeling, like that, to me, like, it's a different feeling than when the Phillies won the World Series and a different feeling from when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, but just the pure joy and excitement from that time. And now I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm going to go on. But let me know which one of those four teams was the most fun for you. I don't think any of them brought the city together like the Sixers, but just living and dying with every basket for that team was just incredible. And to know that we were going to go up against the mighty Lakers, we didn't care. We were just enjoying it, celebrating, living in the moment, because at that point, there was no stopping us now until we ran into Shaq, Kobe, and the Lakers, and they stopped us. But at this point, we really believe that there ain't no stopping us now. And I feel like I've been doing a lot of 70s and 80s Philly music on here recently, too, but it is what it is. All right, finally today, let's take a trip down Phillies Memory Lane. Today, our spotlight is Chris James, a utility man. Played a little in third base, I believe. I want to say he maybe played first base every now and then, too. Also an outfielder. He was an undrafted free agent of the Phillies in 1981. Spent 4 years in Philly, 86 through 89. Hit 254, 39 homers, 144 RBIs, which would have been a great season, but unfortunately for him, it came over 3.5 or so seasons. However, Chris James, while he might not be known best for being a player in Phillies, he definitely has contributed a lot to Phillies lore. So he's just one of those dudes, first of all, to me, like I mentioned yesterday with Don Carmen, that just faceless guys that just the Phillies were running out there and the teams were just terrible. And there was no bringing the city together or excitement about some of the teams that Chris James was on. However, he was traded in June of 1989 for Randy Reddy and John Kruk. So Chris James was responsible for bringing John Kruk to Philly, who was a huge player on that 93 team. Ironically enough, Chris James was still not done contributing to the 93 World Series. He was then traded from San Diego with Sandy Alomar and Carlos Baerga. There's some two heavy hitter names from the past, to Cleveland for Joe Carter. But wait, there's more, because he was involved in that trade. So then Joe Carter and Roberto Alomar were traded to Toronto for Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez. Then McGriff was traded in July of 93 to the Braves. McGriff played a big role in that 93 NLCS and that Braves-Phillies matchup. And we know that Tony Fernandez, Joe Carter, and Roberto Alomar played for Toronto against the Phillies in the 93 World Series. So if you kind of do connect the dots a little bit, Chris James is responsible for the Phillies losing the 93 World Series, the way I see it. I mean, if it wasn't for Chris James, Joe Carter doesn't get traded to the Padres and then doesn't get traded back to Toronto for Fred McGriff, and then maybe although you could also make the argument, and here we go, just going down a rabbit hole, you could make the argument that Chris James helped the Phillies make the World Series, because if Fred McGriff doesn't get traded to the Braves, maybe the Barry Bonds and the Giants end up winning the National League West, and then the Phillies just could not beat the Giants that year. So I guess you could look at it both ways. He either got them to the World Series, but then he also cost them the World Series. But Chris James also is the younger brother of Craig James, who went to SMU, played in the USFL, NFL, and was the one of the college game day analysts on ESPN. And Chris actually was a quarterback on the same high school team with Craig, turned down a scholarship to SMU to play quarterback to go and play baseball. And then he cost the Phillies the 93 World Series because he was traded for Joe Carter. So there you have it. Follow that. I feel like the guy from Always Sunny when I'm connecting the dots and the string and whatever. But today's Phillies Memory Lane spotlight is Chris James. Played 4 years in Philly, but probably most remembered for being the guy that was included in the trade that brought John Kruk, who was a pivotal member of that 93 team. But he was also involved with a couple of trades that brought Joe Carter somehow to Toronto. There will be a quiz, no open notes for that one, so hopefully you paid attention to that. Be sure to let me know what your thoughts are on which team that did not win a championship was the most fun in Philly sports history. Is it the 93 Phillies, the 01 Sixers, 2022 Eagles, or the 2010 Flyers? It's not even close for me. It is AI and the Sixers. Ain't no stopping us now, all because on this day in 2001, the Sixers beat the Bucks 108-91 to advance to the NBA Finals in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference. AI was his normal clutch self, and I still, for my money, there is nobody in Sixers history who is more clutch than Allen Iverson. Prove me wrong. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Philly's looking to bounce back tonight against our old pal Reese before taking a flight across the pond to London for the 2-game series this weekend against the Mets. Like I said, give me your thoughts on anything Philly sports related. We're getting to that point where there's not much to talk about but the Phillies. So let me know your thoughts on anything. If you're out there and you've been following me since January for the weight loss and trying to get into better shape, hang in there. We had a rough May. Maybe you had a better May than me. Hopefully you did. But we're going to get back on the horse, try to incorporate the running, and just pray that I don't get hurt. I've been doing more stretching, which I think is helping. Once you get to be a certain age, I guess, you have to incorporate some yoga and some stretching into your workout routines so you don't stiffen up. But we're getting there, and it's just, knock on wood, I just don't want to tweak a foot or a hamstring or anything like that. But stay tuned for the nickname tournament. That is coming up soon. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for June 3rd, 2024. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Monday. And until next time, ain't no stopping us now. And I'll see you when I see you.